You know that moment when you're staring at your screen, Slack pings stacking up, inbox climbing, calendar full of meetings, and yet you're not actually moving anything forward? Your brain feels like a dozen browser tabs all auto-refreshing at once. You replay conversations, predict disasters, and second-guess every choice until you're exhausted and still unsure what to do next. That's overthinking at work: high effort, low progress, constant mental noise. This lesson is about building a very different default. A Stoic default. Not cold, not robotic, just clear. You'll learn how to step out of the mental storm, choose one thing that actually matters, and give it your full attention without feeling guilty about the rest. You'll also learn how to set boundaries with tools, coworkers, and your own thoughts, so you're not pulled into every notification or imagined scenario. By the end, you'll walk away with 3 concrete tools. First, a 10-minute reset routine you can run anytime your mind feels scrambled by Slack, email, or meetings. Second, a 1-task focus block template that lets you move something meaningful forward even on messy days. Third, a simple, polite not now script you can use with coworkers and managers to protect your focus without sounding difficult or unhelpful. Stoicism is practical philosophy. It's about living and working according to what you can actually control: your choices, your effort, your attention, and dropping the fantasy that you can control everything else. As Marcus notes in Meditations 5.20, the work in front of you is enough. Overthinking often comes from trying to mentally control what you never fully can: other people's reactions, future outcomes, or shifting company priorities. The Stoic approach is to come back to the smallest controllable unit: this moment, this decision, and this task. Before we go any further, one important note: educational content inspired by classical Stoic texts. Not medical, psychological, or legal advice. Across the next sections, you'll see how this plays out in daily North American work life: remote jobs, office days, hybrid schedules, commute time, family logistics, side hustles. You'll see how to use the 10-minute reset when your brain is fried, how to set up focus blocks in a culture that worships availability, and how to respond when people push your boundaries. You'll see how to leave work at work more often, and how to stop reliving every awkward Slack message as if it were life or death. First, you'll learn the 10-minute reset that turns spiraling thoughts into grounded action. Next, you'll sharpen your attention with a 1-task focus question so you always know what matters right now. Then, you'll build a practical focus block structure you can actually defend. After that, you'll learn how to tame Slack, email, and meetings with a calm not now script and smart input boundaries. Finally, you'll see how to weave all of this into a realistic workday so you can think less and do more of what truly counts. The first change is simple: whenever your mind starts racing at work, you run a 10-minute reset routine instead of letting the spiral continue. The claim is straightforward: if you pause and reset on purpose for 10 minutes, you cut the noise and regain enough clarity to make a sane next move. You're not fixing your whole life, you're restoring the mental bandwidth to handle the next decision well. This works because overthinking feeds on unstructured time and vague fears. Your brain jumps from "I have a lot to do" to "I will get fired in 3 clicks. A reset breaks that chain. By standing up, breathing, moving, and naming exactly what's bothering you, you shift from emotion-driven predictions to fact-based thinking. Physically changing your posture and environment sends a signal to your nervous system that the situation is manageable, not an emergency. Here's one line you can use when you feel overwhelmed and need to step back. You can say, "I'm stepping away for 10 minutes to reset and get clear. I'll come back with a simple next step." Imagine Maya, a project coordinator in Toronto working mostly remote. It's 10:30 a.m. and she's got 3 Slack channels blowing up: a client asking for an updated timeline, her manager pinging her about a slide deck, and a coworker dropping quick questions that aren't quick. Her heart rate spikes. She starts clicking between Slack, email, and the Gantt chart, doing little bits of everything and finishing nothing. Instead of white-knuckling, she stands up, fills a water bottle, and walks to her balcony. For 2 minutes she just breathes and feels the cold air. Then she opens a note on her phone and writes, "What's actually bothering me?" She lists 3 things. Next she writes, "What's one small action I can take in the next 15 minutes? She picks, draft the client timeline options. By the time she sits back down, she's calmer, her path for the next block is clear, and she's no longer trying to solve the entire week in her head. Tiny action: tomorrow, block off one 10-minute reset on your calendar, label it reset/clarity, and actually do it when the time comes, even if you feel too busy. The next change is to stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What is the one concrete outcome I'm responsible for in the next hour?" The claim is that naming one outcome in simple language cuts through mental fog and reduces overthinking about priorities. Instead of juggling a dozen half-formed tasks, you give your mind a clear target. This works because the brain handles clear, concrete goals better than vague clouds of responsibility. Keep up with everything is impossible. Prepare 3 talking points for tomorrow's meeting is specific and doable. Stoic thinking lines up here. You focus your energy on what is within reach, not on trying to mentally track every possible demand. When your attention is pointed at one well-defined outcome, it becomes easier to ignore noise. Here's a line you can use to anchor that outcome. You can say, "For the next 45 minutes, my only job is to complete one clear output." Take Alex, a product manager in Seattle. His calendar is full, his inbox is a mess, and he's supposed to move a feature spec forward. Instead of jumping into email and seeing what's urgent, he opens a blank doc and writes, "In the next 45 minutes, my only job is to draft a rough outline of the feature spec, with 3 bullet points for user impact." He sets a timer on his phone and closes his inbox. As Slack pings in the background, he feels the pull to check, but he comes back to that sentence. It becomes a mini commitment. That clarity doesn't solve his entire workload, but it gives his brain a clean lane to run in. When the timer goes off, he has an outline he can refine later instead of 45 minutes of scattered half-work. Tiny action: before your next work block, write one sentence that starts with, "In the next 30 to 60 minutes, my only job is to," and fill in a specific output, not a vague activity. Once you have a clear outcome, you need a container for it. The claim here is that using a simple one-task focus block template, short, protected sessions with clear start and stop times, reduces overthinking by giving your brain a defined space to work and a defined time to rest. Instead of trying to focus all day, you focus for one small, defendable block. This works because the mind handles work better in short, intense bursts than in endless half-focus. A block with a start and end reduces decision fatigue. You're not constantly asking, "Should I keep going? Should I switch?" You already decided. It also makes it easier to negotiate boundaries with others. You're not disappearing for hours, you're protecting a short block for one important thing. As Epictetus reminds us in the Enchiridion, your power lies in how you choose to direct your attention, not in controlling everything around you. Here's one line you can use to set that container with yourself and others. You can say, "I'm blocking 25 minutes to work only on task. Unless it's urgent, I'll respond after this block." Picture Nina, a software engineer in Austin. Her mornings tend to disappear into code reviews and random Slack threads. Today, she decides to run a 25-minute focus block on a tricky bug that's been lingering for a week. At 9:05 a.m., she posts in her team channel, "Heads up, I'm heads down on the login bug for the next 25 minutes. Ping me if it's urgent, I'll catch everything else afterward." She sets a 25-minute timer, closes Slack and email, and pulls up only the files related to that bug. Halfway through, a notification pops up on her phone. Instead of checking, she glances at the timer, sees there are 11 minutes left, and stays with the code. At 9:30, the timer goes off. She's not done, but she's discovered the root cause and left notes for herself for the next block. She takes a 5-minute break, checks messages, and feels less guilty because her focus time was pre-decided and limited. Tiny action: this afternoon, schedule one 25-minute focus block for a single task, announce it briefly, even if just to yourself in a note, set a timer, and honor it until the timer ends. Even with a focus block, Slack, email, and meetings can still hijack your mind unless you define when they're allowed into your attention. The claim here is that creating simple response windows for communication, plus a polite "not now" script, lowers overthinking by turning constant interruption into scheduled attention. Instead of always being on, you're responsive on purpose. This works because unpredictability drives anxiety. If you feel like you must be available every second, every notification feels like a potential fire. By choosing defined times to check and respond, say, at the top of each hour, you signal to your brain that you're not ignoring things, you're just putting them in a container. A "not now" script also reduces social worry. You don't have to rehearse a different excuse each time. you use the same calm line that respects both your focus and the other person. Here's a script you can use when someone tries to pull you out of a focus block. You can say, "I'm in a focus block on a deadline right now. Can I circle back after time so I can give this the attention it deserves?" Consider Jamal, a marketing specialist in Chicago. His team lives on Slack, and he's known as the fast responder. It's flattering, but it means he rarely gets uninterrupted time for writing copy. He decides to experiment. During the morning, he sets 2 response windows, 10:30 a.m. and noon. At 9:45, right in the middle of drafting a landing page, his manager pings, "Got a minute to jump on a quick call?" Normally he'd say yes instantly, then scramble. Instead, he replies, "I'm in a focus block on the landing page until 10:15, can I call you right after so I can give it full attention?" His manager replies, "Sure, that works." The world doesn't end. Jamal finishes his draft, then joins the call at 10:15 with something concrete to show. Over time, people learn that when he is available, he is truly present, and when he's not, he's still respectful and clear. Tiny action: choose one 60 to 90 minute stretch tomorrow morning and decide 2 specific times inside it when you'll check Slack/email. Outside those windows, only open them for genuine emergencies. Overthinking doesn't just come from outside noise, it also comes from trying to mentally control outcomes that are ultimately out of your hands. The claim here is that separating what you control, your effort, preparation, communication, from what you don't, other people's reactions, shifting priorities, reduces replaying and catastrophic thinking. When you sort events this way, you can work hard without trying to mentally micromanage the future. This works because your brain tends to treat everything as equally urgent and equally controllable. That's exhausting. The Stoic distinction, what's up to you versus what isn't, lets you spend energy where it makes a difference and let go where it doesn't. When you consciously say, "My job is to do X, the rest is not mine," you create a boundary inside your own head. That boundary reduces the urge to simulate every possible email response or meeting outcome. Here's a line you can use when you catch yourself spiraling about someone else's reaction. You can say, "My job is to prepare and show up well. Their reaction is theirs, not mine." Imagine Olivia, a senior account manager in New York. She has to present a renewal proposal to a tough client who has been vague and critical lately. The night before the meeting, she starts replaying worst-case scenarios. What if they hate the pricing? What if they say we've failed them? What if my boss thinks I messed it up? Her mind spins. She stops, opens a notebook, and draws 2 columns, mine and not mine. Under mine, she writes, "Know the numbers, practice the key talking points, anticipate 3 questions, stay calm if they push." Under not mine, she writes, "Their budget constraints, their mood, my boss's opinion of them." She looks at the mine column and says to herself, "My job is to prepare and show up well. Their reaction is theirs, not mine." She then spends 30 focused minutes rehearsing. Does she still care about the outcome? Of course. But she's not trying to decide it with her thoughts, she's deciding who she'll be in the room. Tiny action: tonight, before bed, pick one work situation you're overthinking and write 2 columns, mine and not mine, with at least 3 items in each. A huge driver of overthinking at work shows up after hours. You leave the office or shut your laptop, but your mind keeps replaying the day, rewriting conversations, and pre-writing tomorrow's emails. The claim here is that a short, consistent shutdown routine, 5 to 10 minutes at the end of your workday, reduces evening rumination by giving your brain a clear "we're done for today" signal and a safe place to store unfinished tasks. This works because your brain hates loose ends. When you walk away with a messy desk, vague to-do list, and unresolved worries, your mind will try to keep them online in the background. A shutdown ritual externalizes them. By writing down what's pending and a simple plan for tomorrow, you reassure your mind that nothing is being forgotten. As Seneca often emphasizes in his letters, reviewing your day with honesty and intention helps you improve without beating yourself up. Here's a line you can use as you close your day. You can say, "Here's what future me needs to know for tomorrow, so I can rest tonight." Think of Daniel, an operations lead in Denver with 2 kids at home. Most nights he finds himself half playing with his kids while half checking his phone, thinking about warehouse issues and vendor emails. He decides to try a shutdown ritual. At 4:50 p.m., before leaving the office, he opens a single page labeled "Tomorrow." He writes 3 items: 1. Call vendor X about shipment delay. 2. finish Q2 cost spreadsheet. 3. Slack team about new process. Next to each, he writes when he'll do it. He also notes one worry: if costs stay high, leadership might cut our team. Under that, he writes, my role, give clear numbers, suggest 2 options. As he closes his laptop, he says quietly, here's what I need to know for tomorrow, so I can rest tonight. At home, when his mind starts drifting back to work, he reminds himself, it's written down. I'll handle it then. It doesn't erase every worry, but it reduces the feeling that he must keep the whole job in his head all evening. Tiny action. Today, spend 5 minutes before you stop working to write a simple tomorrow note with your top 3 tasks and 1 worry plus your role in it. Even with routines and focus blocks, mistakes and awkward moments are inevitable at work. Overthinking often explodes here, replaying what you said in a meeting, obsessing over a typo in an email, or imagining how everyone judged you. The claim is that using a quick, structured reflection, separating facts from your story and extracting one lesson, cuts down on shame spirals and turns mistakes into fuel instead of evidence that you're doomed. This works because the mind tends to collapse everything into identity. I messed up. That update becomes I'm terrible at my job. By writing down what actually happened, how you interpreted it, and what you'd do next time, you keep events in their proper size. You also align with the Stoic attitude that the past is gone except for the lessons you can carry forward. You're not ignoring real consequences, you're refusing to inflict endless imaginary ones on yourself. Here's a line you can use when you catch yourself replaying an error. You can say, given what I knew then, I made the best call I could. Now here's one thing I'll do differently next time. Consider Priya, an analyst in Vancouver who misreported a number in a weekly dashboard. Her manager caught it before sending it to leadership, but Priya is mortified. That evening, she's stuck in a loop. They'll never trust me again. I always do this. I should have triple-checked. Instead of letting the loop run, she grabs a notebook and writes, fact, I misentered a number in the dashboard. It was corrected before leadership saw it. Story, this proves I'm careless and not cut out for this job. Lesson, I need a simple cross-check step before sending. She reads that back and then tells herself, given what I knew then, I made the best call I could. Now here's one thing I'll do differently next time, add a 3-minute checklist to my process. Next week, she runs a quick check before sending the dashboard. The error doesn't vanish from existence, but it stops defining her. Tiny action, after your next awkward or regretful work moment, take 3 minutes to write fact/story/lesson and fill in 1 sentence under each. Sometimes overthinking isn't about tasks or mistakes, it's about people. You worry about how your coworker reads your Slack message, whether your manager is annoyed, or if your quietness in a meeting looks like incompetence. The claim here is that setting small relational boundaries, asking for clarification instead of mind reading, and naming what you need in plain language reduces social overthinking and frees up mental space for actual work. This works because much workplace anxiety comes from guessing other people's thoughts. The brain fills gaps with worst-case interpretations. By calmly asking, did I understand you correctly, or can we clarify expectations, you swap fantasy for data. You may still not love the answer, but at least you're dealing with something real. You also show others that you're engaged and responsible instead of hiding in silence and stewing. Here's a line you can use when you're unsure how someone took your message. You can say, I want to make sure we're on the same page. Did my last message land the way you expected, or is there anything I should adjust? Think about Marco, a UX designer in Los Angeles. After a heated design review, his manager says, let's move faster on these iterations. Marco hears, you're slow and maybe not good enough. All afternoon, he replays the comment and imagines being fired. The next morning, instead of stewing, he schedules a quick 10-minute check-in. On the call he says, I want to make sure we're on the same page. Did my last round of designs land the way you expected, or is there anything I should adjust? His manager pauses, then replies, good question. The direction is solid, I just need us to tighten the turnaround time on small changes. Maybe we can agree on a 24-hour cycle for now. The reality is far less dramatic than the story he wrote in his head. Marco leaves with a clear expectation and a plan, not a cloud of unspoken fear. Tiny action, this week, if you catch yourself mind reading about a coworker or manager, pick one small situation and ask a clarifying question instead of assuming you already know what they think. Now let's see how this all comes together in a single day. Meet Lauren, 34, a remote customer success lead based in Minneapolis. She supports a portfolio of mid-sized clients across the US, spends her days in Zoom calls, and lives inside Slack and email. Lately, she's been lying awake at night thinking about churn risk, replaying client calls, and imagining worst-case scenarios. On Monday morning, she decides she's done letting her brain run the show. At 8:45 a.m., she logs in and immediately feels the familiar rush: Slack notifications, weekend emails, a calendar invite for a quick sync about a troubled account. Her mind starts racing. If they churn, leadership will blame me. I need to answer everything right now. She catches herself and runs the 10-minute reset. She stands up, fills her coffee, and takes 3 slow breaths by the window. On a sticky note she writes, "What's bothering me?" and lists 3 things: client churn risk, backlog of emails, performance anxiety. Then she writes, "What's one useful outcome for the next hour?" and chooses, prepare 3 talking points for client A call. At 9 a.m., she sets up a 1-task focus block. She tells herself, for the next 45 minutes, my only job is to draft 3 clear talking points and 2 options for client A. She sets a 25-minute timer, closes her inbox, and opens only the client's notes and usage data. Slack pings, but she stays with the block. When the timer goes off, she takes a 5-minute stretch break, then runs a second 20-minute block to refine her points. Now she has a simple document she can lean on instead of 45 minutes of scattered worry. Next, she shapes her communication windows. She decides she'll check Slack at the top of each hour in the morning. At 10:10, right as she's finishing the client A doc, a coworker DMs, "Got a sec to help with this deck?" She replies, "I'm in a focus block on a client call prep, can I circle back after 11 so I can give this the attention it deserves?" The coworker agrees, and Lauren's brain gets one more proof that she can set boundaries without being rude. The client A call is at 11:30. Before it starts, Lauren quickly runs the mind/not mind distinction. She writes, "Mine, come prepared with usage data, present 2 options clearly, stay calm if they're upset." Not mine, their budget, leadership's final decision, their internal politics. She silently repeats, "My job is to prepare and show up well, their reaction is theirs, not mine." During the call, the client is candid about their concerns but not hostile. Lauren walks them through 2 options and agrees on next steps. Afterward, instead of replaying every sentence, she spends 3 minutes doing fact/story/lesson. She notes what actually happened, the story she almost told herself, and one improvement for the next call. At 4:50 p.m., before logging off, she runs her shutdown ritual. In a simple doc she writes, tomorrow, 1. Send recap email to client A, 2. Review Q2 adoption metrics, 3. Draft agenda for team meeting. Under worry, she writes, what if client A still churns? And under my role, she writes, give them the best path forward and honest expectations. She closes her laptop and tells herself, here's what future me needs to know for tomorrow, so I can rest tonight. When her mind starts to drift back to work while she's making dinner, she remembers the list and lets it go. She hasn't solved every work problem in one day, but she's no longer letting overthinking run her schedule. At its core, the Stoic cure for overthinking at work isn't about becoming emotionless, it's about becoming directed. Instead of letting Slack, email, meetings, and your own worries scatter your attention, you learn to pause, pick one meaningful outcome, and protect the time and mental space to pursue it. You learn to separate what you control from what you don't, and to treat mistakes and uncertainty as raw material for improvement rather than proof that you're failing. You saw how a simple 10-minute reset can interrupt spirals and bring you back to the present moment. You practiced naming a single clear outcome for the next 30 to 60 minutes, then placing that outcome inside a one-task focus block with a defined start and end. You learned how to protect that focus by creating communication windows and using a polite not now script that respects both your work and your teammates. You explored the Stoic distinction between what's yours and what isn't, especially around other people's reactions, and how that cuts down on replaying every conversation. You added a shutdown ritual to reduce evening rumination and a quick reflection process to turn mistakes into lessons instead of endless mental punishment. You saw all of this woven into a realistic day for someone navigating remote work, demanding clients, and constant notifications. First, do today's step, schedule one 25-minute focus block for tomorrow with a single, clearly defined outcome, write that outcome in one sentence, and honor the block as if it were a meeting with someone important. Second do today step, choose one time tomorrow to run a 10-minute reset, ideally when you feel pulled in 5 directions, and use it to stand up, breathe, list what's bothering you, and pick one next action. Third do today step, at the end of your next workday, spend 5 minutes creating a tomorrow note with your top 3 tasks and 1 worry plus your role in it, then consciously tell yourself you're done for the day. When you're ready to build on this, the natural next step is to explore how Stoic principles can help you handle difficult conversations at work, setting boundaries with managers, saying no without guilt, and giving honest feedback without carrying everyone else's emotions on your shoulders.